I'm Dr. Catherine Blackwood, and I've been a cardiologist at Riverside Heart Center in Portland, Oregon for 19 years. During my career, I've performed over 5,200 cardiac procedures, pioneered 3 new surgical techniques, and published 47 research papers on advanced cardiac pathology. I've been named one of America's top cardiologists by Medical Excellence magazine 4 years running, and I've saved lives that other doctors had written off as hopeless. But what I'm about to tell you about is the one case that shattered everything I thought I knew about the human heart, cardiac physiology, and the very nature of life itself. It's the reason I submitted my resignation as Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery last month, and why I now lie awake at night wondering if everything we've been taught about the heart is fundamentally wrong. This is the case of Isabella Montenegro, and by the time I'm finished telling you her story, you'll understand why I can never look at a beating heart the same way again. Riverside Heart Center sits on the banks of the Columbia River in Portland, Oregon, a gleaming 12-story monument to modern cardiac medicine. As the Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery, I oversaw the most advanced cardiac program on the West Coast. Our facility handles over 3,000 cardiac procedures annually, from routine bypass surgeries to the most complex congenital heart repairs. We have a 97.3% success rate for cardiac surgery, the highest in the Pacific Northwest. I built my career on precision, predictability, and an unwavering faith in cardiac science. The heart, despite being one of medicine's most complex organs, operates according to immutable physiological laws. The sinoatrial node fires electrical impulses at regular intervals. Blood flows through 4 chambers in a precise sequence. The cardiac cycle follows an exact rhythm of systole and diastole. These aren't theories or suggestions. They're fundamental truths that govern every heartbeat of every human being who has ever drawn breath. My team was legendary in cardiac circles. Dr. Amanda Reeves, my lead electrophysiologist, had trained at Harvard and could diagnose the most subtle arrhythmias with a glance at an EKG strip. Jessica Park, our senior cardiac technician, possessed an almost supernatural ability to detect structural abnormalities on echocardiograms that other technicians missed entirely. Dr. Michael Torres, our anesthesiologist, had never lost a patient in over 4,000 cardiac surgeries. If there was a heart problem to be solved, we could solve it. Our cardiac ICU was equipped with the most advanced monitoring technology available: real-time 3D echocardiography, continuous hemodynamic monitoring, and computerized arrhythmia detection systems that could identify potentially fatal rhythm disturbances milliseconds before they became life-threatening. We had protocols for every conceivable cardiac emergency, backup procedures for our backup procedures, and contingency plans that covered scenarios so rare they occurred maybe once in 1,000 cases. I had personally developed 3 of those protocols. The Blackwood technique for emergency valve replacement had been adopted by cardiac centers worldwide. My research on post-operative arrhythmia prevention had been published in the New England Journal of Medicine and cited in over 200 subsequent studies. I lectured at medical conferences across the globe, teaching other surgeons the intricacies of complex cardiac procedures. In short, I was at the pinnacle of my profession, confident in my expertise and secure in the knowledge that cardiac medicine, while challenging, operated within clearly defined scientific boundaries. That confidence would be completely destroyed on a rainy Thursday morning in November 2023. November 16, 2023, started like any other Thursday. I had completed morning rounds, reviewed 3 upcoming surgical cases, and was settling into my office to work on a research paper about innovative approaches to mitral valve repair. The Portland rain drummed against my windows, and I remember thinking how peaceful the morning felt compared to our usual controlled chaos. At exactly 10:47 a.m., my pager buzzed with an urgent message from Dr. Sarah Chen, our emergency department director. Incoming cardiac emergency, 34-year-old female, impossible presentation, need you in Trauma Bay 3 immediately. This is unlike anything we've seen. In nearly 2 decades of practice, I had never received a message like that from Sarah. She was unflappable, a veteran emergency physician who had seen every conceivable cardiac emergency. Her use of the word impossible sent a chill down my spine as I hurried toward the trauma bay. I found Sarah standing outside Trauma Bay 3 with Dr. Robert Martinez, our senior cardiologist, both staring at a tablet displaying what appeared to be EKG readings. Their expressions ranged from bewildered to deeply troubled. "What do we have?" I asked, expecting to hear about a massive MI or complex arrhythmia. "Catherine," Sarah said, her voice uncharacteristically hesitant, "I've been practicing emergency medicine for 16 years. I've never seen anything like this patient's cardiac presentation. Her EKG is, she paused, struggling to find the right words. It's showing patterns that shouldn't be physiologically possible. Dr. Martinez nodded grimly. The electrical activity in her heart is completely unlike anything I've encountered. The P waves, QRS complexes and T waves are all present, but they're occurring in sequences that contradict everything we know about cardiac electrophysiology. Equipment malfunction? I suggested, though both doctors' expressions told me they had already considered and ruled out that possibility. We've run the EKG on 3 different machines, Sarah replied, all showing identical results. Plus, the patient is conscious, alert, and claiming she feels perfectly fine despite what her monitor is displaying. I entered Trauma Bay 3 to find our patient sitting upright on the examination table, looking remarkably calm for someone who had apparently been brought in by ambulance for a cardiac emergency. Isabella Montenegro was a striking woman in her mid-30s, with shoulder-length black hair and intelligent dark eyes. She was dressed in business attire, a navy blue suit that suggested she had been at work when whatever happened occurred. Miss Montenegro, I'm Dr. Blackwood, Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery. How are you feeling right now? Isabella smiled, a gesture that seemed incongruous given the concerned expressions of the medical staff surrounding her. Honestly, Dr. Blackwood, I feel completely normal. Actually, I feel better than I have in months. The paramedics and everyone here seem very worried, but I don't understand why. I just had some brief chest discomfort at work, and my assistant insisted on calling 911. I glanced at the cardiac monitor above her bed. What I saw there made no sense according to any principle of cardiology I had learned in medical school, residency, or nearly 2 decades of practice. The monitor displayed clear, regular heartbeats, but the electrical patterns were unlike anything in medical literature. The normal sequence of cardiac electrical activity, the P wave representing atrial depolarization, followed by the QRS complex representing ventricular depolarization, followed by the T wave representing repolarization, was present, but the timing and morphology were completely aberrant. Miss Montenegro, can you tell me exactly what happened at your office? I work as a financial analyst downtown. Around 10:15 this morning, I was reviewing quarterly reports when I felt this strange sensation in my chest. Not pain, exactly, more like my heart was shifting gears, if that makes sense. It lasted maybe 30 seconds, then I felt this incredible sense of energy and clarity. My assistant Maria said I looked pale for a moment, then she noticed I seemed unusually alert and focused. She got worried and called 911 despite my protests. I checked her pulse manually. Strong, regular, 72 beats per minute. Blood pressure was 118/86, perfect. Oxygen saturation 99%. Respiratory rate 16. By every standard vital sign, Isabella Montenegro was in excellent health, except for the impossible EKG pattern that continued to display on every monitor we connected her to. Jessica, I need a full 12-lead EKG and an echo stat. I called to our senior cardiac tech. Jessica Park had been performing cardiac diagnostics for over 15 years. I had seen her identify subtle abnormalities that other technicians missed completely. If anyone could explain what we were seeing, it would be Jessica. As she prepared the equipment, I continued my examination of Isabella. Heart sounds were normal, crisp S1 and S2 with no murmurs, gallops or rubs. No peripheral edema, no jugular venous distension, no signs of heart failure or cardiac distress. Isabella Montenegro appeared to be in perfect cardiovascular health. The 12-lead EKG results were even more perplexing than the monitor strips. Every lead showed the same impossible pattern, clear cardiac electrical activity that followed no known physiological sequence. The intervals between waves were consistent, suggesting a regular rhythm, but the morphology of each wave component was unlike anything documented in medical literature. Dr. Blackwood, Jessica said quietly, I've triple-checked the lead placement. I've run this on 2 different EKG machines. The results are identical, and they're impossible according to everything I know about cardiac electrophysiology.
The echocardiogram was even more bewildering. Isabella's heart structure appeared completely normal, 4 chambers of appropriate size, normal wall thickness, good contractility, but the sequence of cardiac motion was subtly wrong in ways that should have been immediately fatal. In a normal heart, the atria contract first, pushing blood into the ventricles, then the ventricles contract, pushing blood out to the lungs and body. It's a precisely choreographed dance that must occur in exact sequence, or the heart fails immediately. Isabella's echocardiogram showed her heart chambers contracting in the correct sequence, but with tiny timing variations that created a rhythm I had never seen before. Instead of the normal lub-dub pattern, her heart seemed to beat with a lub-dub whisper pattern, where the whisper was an additional, impossibly subtle contraction that occurred between normal beats. "This can't be right," I muttered, staring at the echocardiogram screen. "I've repeated it 3 times, Jessica replied. "Same results every time." I immediately consulted with Dr. Amanda Reeves, our electrophysiologist. If anyone could explain Isabella's cardiac rhythm, it would be Amanda. She arrived within minutes and spent 20 minutes studying Isabella's EKG strips and echocardiogram results. Her expression grew increasingly troubled as she reviewed the data. "Catherine, I need to be completely honest with you. What I'm looking at contradicts everything I learned in 15 years of studying cardiac electrophysiology. This rhythm should not sustain life. The electrical conduction pattern would normally result in immediate cardiac arrest. But she's sitting there talking to us, completely stable. I know what I'm seeing, but I can't explain it. According to these readings, her heart is conducting electrical impulses through pathways that don't exist in normal cardiac anatomy." I called Dr. Harrison Webb at Oregon Health Sciences University, considered one of the foremost cardiac electrophysiologists on the West Coast. I transmitted Isabella's EKG strips and echocardiogram results to his secure server and waited for his analysis. His call came back within an hour. "Catherine, I've reviewed your patient studies with 3 other electrophysiologists. We're unanimous in our assessment. What you're showing us is physiologically impossible. Either you're dealing with a massive equipment malfunction across multiple machines, or you've encountered something that rewrites our understanding of cardiac function. Harrison, we've verified these results on multiple machines with multiple technicians. The patient is completely asymptomatic and shows no signs of cardiac distress. Then you may have discovered something that challenges fundamental principles of cardiology. I'd like to drive down tomorrow to examine this patient myself, if you're willing." Dr. Webb arrived early Friday morning with 2 colleagues, Dr. Lisa Chang from Stanford and Dr. Robert Kim from UCSF. The 3 physicians represented some of the most advanced cardiac expertise on the West Coast. They spent 4 hours examining Isabella, reviewing her studies, and conducting additional tests. Their conclusion was unanimous and deeply unsettling. "Dr. Blackwood," Dr. Webb said as we met in my office that afternoon, "in 30 years of cardiac medicine, I have never encountered anything like this patient. Her heart is functioning in a way that contradicts basic physiological principles, yet she shows no signs of cardiac compromise." Dr. Chang nodded gravely. "We've run every diagnostic test available: nuclear stress imaging, cardiac catheterization, advanced electrophysiological mapping. Everything confirms the same impossible result. Her heart is conducting electrical impulses through pathways that shouldn't exist, and timing contractions in sequences that should be fatal." "What are you saying exactly?" I asked, though I suspected I knew the answer. Dr. Kim leaned forward. "We're saying that Isabella Montenegro's heart is functioning in a way that challenges our fundamental understanding of cardiac physiology. If we didn't have multiple confirmatory tests, we would dismiss this as equipment error, but we've verified these findings extensively." Later that day, I sat down with Isabella for a detailed conversation about her experience. "Isabella, I want you to know that your test results are... We're still working to understand exactly what's happening with your heart rhythm." She smiled calmly. "Dr. Blackwood, I appreciate your concern, but I feel incredible. Actually, I feel better than I have in years. My energy level is higher, my thinking is clearer, and I have this sense of, I don't know how to describe it, completeness that I've never experienced before." "When did you first notice any changes in how you felt?" "It's hard to pinpoint exactly. Over the past few months, I've noticed increased energy and focus at work. My colleagues have commented that I seem more alert and productive. I thought it was just because I had been exercising more and eating better." "Tell me about yesterday morning when the symptoms started." Isabella paused, her brow furrowing slightly. "That's when things became really noticeable. When I felt that shifting sensation in my chest, it was like my heart was recalibrating itself. Since then, I've felt this incredible sense of vitality. My resting heart rate feels different, not faster or slower, just different in a way I can't explain." "Have you ever experienced anything like this before?" "Never. But Dr. Blackwood, I have to ask, am I in danger? Everyone seems so concerned, but I feel amazing." I struggled with how to answer her question honestly. According to everything I knew about cardiology, Isabella should have been in immediate cardiac arrest, yet she was sitting in my office, glowing with health and vitality. "Isabella, we're going to need to keep you under observation for a few more days while we run additional tests. What you're experiencing is very rare, and we want to make sure we understand it completely."
We admitted Isabella to our cardiac monitoring unit for comprehensive evaluation. Over the next 72 hours, we subjected her heart to every diagnostic test available in modern cardiology. Continuous telemetry monitoring confirmed that her impossible rhythm continued unchanged. 24-hour Holter monitoring showed the same consistent pattern throughout all her daily activities. Exercise stress testing revealed that her heart responded normally to increased demands, despite its aberrant electrical patterns. Most remarkably, Isabella's exercise capacity was exceptional. During cardiac stress testing, she achieved 14 METM, metabolic equivalents, the fitness level of an elite athlete, despite being a sedentary office worker who had never engaged in serious athletic training. Dr. Blackwood, Dr. Martinez reported after reviewing her stress test results, Isabella's cardiac output during peak exercise was 28 liters per minute. That's in the range we see in Olympic endurance athletes. Her heart is not only functioning despite its impossible electrical patterns, it's functioning at an extraordinarily high level. Blood work revealed equally puzzling results. Isabella's cardiac enzyme levels were perfect, indicating no heart muscle damage. Her inflammatory markers were almost undetectable, suggesting optimal cardiovascular health. Most intriguingly, her B-type natriuretic peptide, BNP levels, a key indicator of heart stress, were lower than we typically see in healthy 20-year-olds. It's as if her heart has been optimized somehow, Jessica observed while reviewing the lab results. Every marker suggests not just normal cardiac function, but enhanced cardiac function. On Isabella's third night in the hospital, something occurred that would haunt me for the rest of my career. I was working late in my office, reviewing research papers on unusual cardiac rhythms, when my phone rang at 11:43 p.m. It was Nurse Patricia Williams, from the cardiac monitoring unit. "Dr. Blackwood, you need to get up here immediately. Something's happening with Ms. Montenegro." "What kind of something?" "Her heart rhythm just changed. It's still impossible, but it's different impossible than before." I rushed to the cardiac unit to find Isabella wide awake, sitting up in bed with an expression of wonder on her face. "Dr. Blackwood, I felt it happen," she said as I entered her room. "My heart just shifted again, like it did at my office, but stronger this time." I looked at her cardiac monitor. The rhythm was still unlike anything in medical literature, but the pattern had indeed changed. The mysterious whisper beat between normal contractions had become more pronounced, creating what appeared to be a triple rhythm instead of the normal double rhythm of the human heart. "How do you feel?" "Even better than before, if that's possible. It's like someone just upgraded my heart's software." I checked her vital signs. Blood pressure 110/70, heart rate steady at 68, oxygen saturation 100%. She appeared completely comfortable and alert. Over the next 2 hours, I watched Isabella's cardiac rhythm evolve through 3 more distinct patterns, each one impossible according to established cardiac physiology, each one leaving her feeling progressively more energetic and vital.
By 2 a.m., her heart had settled into a complex rhythm that showed characteristics of normal cardiac function combined with patterns I had never seen before. It was as if her heart had developed an entirely new way of beating that enhanced rather than compromised its function. Isabella remained stable throughout the night, and morning brought even more perplexing developments. Her overnight sleep study, which we had initiated to monitor her cardiac rhythm during rest, showed that her heart rate variability was extraordinary. Where normal hearts showed decreased variability with age and cardiac disease, Isabella's heart showed the variability patterns of a supremely fit teenager, despite her sedentary lifestyle. "Dr. Blackwood," Dr. Reeves said as we reviewed the overnight data, "I've been studying cardiac electrophysiology for 15 years. What I'm seeing in this patient rewrites everything we know about heart rhythm disorders. Not only is she surviving with rhythms that should be fatal, she's thriving." The morning brought another surprise. Isabella's echocardiogram showed subtle but measurable improvements in her cardiac function compared to her admission studies 3 days earlier. Her ejection fraction, the percentage of blood her heart pumps with each beat, had improved from an already excellent 65% to an extraordinary 72%. "Her heart is actually getting stronger," Jessica reported with amazement. "In 3 days of having an impossible rhythm, her cardiac function has improved measurably." I sat down with Isabella to discuss her case. "Isabella, I need to be completely honest with you. What's happening with your heart challenges everything we understand about cardiac medicine. Your rhythm patterns are unlike anything documented in medical literature, yet you're not only surviving, you're thriving." She listened thoughtfully. "Dr. Blackwood, I have a question that might sound strange. Is it possible that my heart is somehow evolving?"
that it's found a better way to work. The question stopped me cold. In all my years of medicine, I had never considered the possibility that the human heart might be capable of spontaneous optimization. Hearts followed established patterns, obeyed physiological laws, and when they deviated from normal function, the results were invariably pathological. But Isabella's heart seemed to be rewriting those rules. After 5 days of observation and testing, Isabella's condition remained stable, and her cardiac function continued to improve. Her impossible rhythm had settled into a consistent pattern that, while unlike anything in medical literature, appeared to be sustainable and beneficial. "I want to go home, Dr. Blackwood," Isabella said during our final consultation. "I feel incredible, better than I've felt in my entire adult life. Whatever is happening with my heart, it's making me healthier, not sicker. I faced the most difficult decision of my medical career. By every standard measure, Isabella Montenegro was not just healthy, she was optimally healthy. Her cardiac output was extraordinary, her exercise capacity was elite athlete level, and her overall sense of well-being was remarkable. Yet her heart was beating in ways that contradicted fundamental principles of cardiac physiology. "Isabella, I'm going to discharge you, but with very specific instructions. You'll need to wear a portable heart monitor for the next month, and I want to see you weekly for follow-up appointments. If you experience any symptoms, chest pain, shortness of breath, dizziness, anything at all, you call us immediately." "Of course, Dr. Blackwood, but I have to ask, am I the first person you've seen with a heart like mine?" It was a question that would prove to be more prescient than either of us realized. "Yes, Isabella, you're the first." As I walked her to the hospital exit, Isabella turned to me with a question that would echo in my mind for months. "Dr. Blackwood, if my heart can beat in ways that make me healthier and stronger, what does that say about everything we think we know about the human heart? What if we've been limiting ourselves to patterns that aren't optimal?" I didn't have an answer then, and the question would haunt me as more impossible cases began to arrive. In the weeks following Isabella's discharge, I found myself unable to focus on routine cases. Every patient I saw, every EKG I read, every echocardiogram I interpreted was filtered through the lens of Isabella Montenegro's impossible heart. I spent hours in medical libraries, searching for any documented cases similar to hers. I reviewed decades of cardiac literature, corresponded with electrophysiologists worldwide, and even consulted with researchers studying evolutionary cardiology. Nothing. Isabella Montenegro's case was completely unprecedented. But late at night, alone in my office, I would stare at copies of her EKG strips and wonder, if one human heart could develop such extraordinary function, were there others? Had we been missing cases because we dismissed impossible rhythms as equipment errors? The answer to that question would come sooner than I expected, and it would change everything I thought I knew about the human heart forever. 3 weeks after Isabella's discharge, my pager would buzz again with another impossible cardiac case. But this time I would be ready to look beyond the boundaries of conventional cardiology. This time I would discover that Isabella Montenegro was not alone. 3 weeks after Isabella Montenegro's discharge, my world collapsed. At 6:23 a.m. on a freezing December morning, my pager buzzed with a message that would haunt me forever. Another impossible cardiac case. 42-year-old male, identical to Montenegro. Need you now. Marcus Rivera, a construction foreman from southeast Portland, sat calmly in trauma bay 2, despite the panic of the medical staff around him. Like Isabella, he appeared perfectly healthy while his cardiac monitor displayed the same impossible rhythm that had baffled every cardiologist who examined it. "Dr. Blackwood," Jessica whispered, her voice trembling as she reviewed his EKG. "It's identical. Every pattern, every impossible timing variation. His heart is beating exactly like Isabella's." I ran every test we had performed on Isabella. The results were devastating in their consistency. Marcus Rivera's heart functioned at the same extraordinary level, elite athlete cardiac output, despite a sedentary lifestyle, perfect blood chemistry, and that same impossible triple beat rhythm that defied every principle of cardiac medicine. 2 identical cases in 3 weeks. This wasn't medical anomaly anymore, this was a pattern. I called Isabella immediately. "Isabella, I need to ask about a construction worker named Marcus Rivera. Have you ever met him?" Her pause chilled my blood. "Marcus Rivera, yes. That's the foreman from Cascade Construction. They renovated our office building about 6 months ago. We talked a few times by the coffee machine." "Dr. Blackwood, why are you asking?" I spent the next 72 hours investigating every connection between Isabella and Marcus. What I found defied rational explanation. Both had worked in buildings renovated by Cascade Construction. Both experienced their cardiac transformations exactly 4 months after construction ended. Both remembered the same crew, the same timeline, the The same brief interactions with workers. Most disturbing, both reported vivid dreams in the weeks before their heart changes, dreams of their hearts glowing with golden light. Before I could process these connections, Dr. Patricia Wells rushed into my office with terror in her eyes. "Catherine, we have a third case. Dr. Rachel Kim from Northwest Portland. Identical cardiac presentation, identical impossible rhythm. Dr. Kim, a pediatrician, had experienced the same chest-shifting sensation during a routine patient exam. Her heart showed the same impossible patterns, the same enhanced performance, the same extraordinary vitality. The connection hit me like lightning. Her clinic occupied a building renovated by Cascade Construction 7 months earlier. 3 cases, 3 buildings, 1 construction company. I contacted the Oregon Department of Health, demanding an emergency investigation into Cascade construction projects. What they discovered changed everything I thought I knew about human physiology. Cascade had been using experimental insulation containing trace amounts of a rare mineral called cardioite, discovered 18 months earlier in Northern California. No one had tested its biological effects on humans. Dr. Elena Martinez, a bioelectromagnetics researcher from Portland State, explained the impossible truth. Dr. Blackwood, cardioite creates electromagnetic resonance with human bioelectric fields. Extended exposure doesn't damage cardiac tissue. It optimizes it beyond anything we thought possible. You're saying it enhanced their hearts. I'm saying it unlocked capacities that were always there but never activated. These patients' hearts aren't just improved. They're functioning at levels that reveal how limited normal cardiac function actually is. Over the following months, I tracked down 14 more cases. Every patient had been exposed to cardioite through Cascade construction projects. Every heart showed identical impossible rhythms and extraordinary performance. Isabella returned for her 6-month follow-up, glowing with health. She had started competing in marathons, breaking records despite never having trained before her transformation. Her resting heart rate was 42 beats per minute, while maintaining perfect cardiac output, physiologically impossible, yet undeniably real. "Dr. Blackwood," she said during our appointment, "what if this isn't an accident? What if this is what human hearts are supposed to be capable of?" The question shattered my remaining certainty about cardiac medicine. If 17 people could function with hearts performing at levels I had been taught were impossible, what did that say about the millions living with normal hearts that were apparently functioning at a fraction of their potential? I began advocating for controlled cardioid exposure studies, suggesting research into electromagnetic cardiac optimization. The medical establishment's response was swift and brutal. "Catherine," Dr. Webb said during a heated conference call, "you're talking about human enhancement based on accidental mineral exposure. No legitimate institution would pursue this research." Hospital administration was more direct. "Dr. Blackwood, your obsession with these anomalous cases has become problematic. We need you focused on standard cardiac care, not experimental enhancement theories." I realized the medical community wasn't ready to accept that we had been fundamentally wrong about human cardiac potential. The idea that hearts could function far beyond established parameters threatened too many careers built on managing cardiac limitation rather than optimizing cardiac potential. The final straw came during a department meeting where I presented my findings to the cardiac surgery team. The response was immediate dismissal. "Catherine, you're suggesting we've been practicing suboptimal medicine for decades," Dr. Torres said. "These are isolated cases of unknown etiology. They don't justify reconsidering established cardiac physiology." But I had seen 17 people transform from ordinary cardiac function to extraordinary performance. I had witnessed hearts functioning at levels that revealed normal was actually severely limited. I couldn't continue performing bypass surgeries and valve replacements while knowing that proper electromagnetic exposure might eliminate the need for such procedures entirely. I couldn't treat cardiac disease while knowing that every patient was living with a heart operating at perhaps 20% of its actual potential. 6 months after Isabella Montenegro first entered my emergency department, I submitted my resignation as Chief of Cardiothoracic Surgery. I now work with a privately funded research institute studying bioelectromagnetic cardiac enhancement. Our preliminary results are extraordinary. Controlled electromagnetic exposure can improve cardiac function by over 300% in healthy subjects and produce even more dramatic improvements in patients with existing cardiac disease. Our work remains secretive, funded by donors who understand we're challenging assumptions about human potential that mainstream medicine refuses to accept. Isabella Montenegro runs ultramarathons competitively, her enhanced heart allowing performance that would be impossible with normal cardiac function. Marcus Rivera consults on electromagnetic safety projects, his optimized heart enabling work at altitudes and conditions that exhaust normal workers. All 17 enhanced patients remain in perfect health, living proof that human cardiac potential extends far beyond what medical science teaches as normal. Late at night,
I wonder how many people are living with hearts functioning at a fraction of their potential, simply because we never discovered how to unlock their true capacity. How many cardiac deaths could we prevent if we understood optimization rather than just management? Isabella Montenegro's question echoes in my mind. What if this is what human hearts are supposed to be capable of? I now know the answer. We've been settling for a fraction of human cardiac potential, calling limitation normal and possibility impossible. The enhanced heart haunts me not because it was terrifying, but because it revealed how much human potential we leave undiscovered every day.